Pillars of Eternity is joining Lords of the Fallen in the reroll free-from range of reviews. No dairy, eggs, nuts, or indeed nostalgia, because, though I fear for my nerd standing, I must admit to never having played an Infinity Engine game in my life. I know, right? But that puts me in an interesting position, because I am ready placed to find out whether a game funded by the goodwill of fans to recapture a thing of the past deserves a place in gaming present. If you have never played this style of cRPG, is it worth your time, or did you just have to be there? I have never felt so proud about killing wolves. Wolves are tough. Tougher almost than a fledgling watcher, the protagonist granted the power to toy with souls, and from this we may conclude that wolves are soulless killing machines, and slaying them feels good. The colossal number of strategic options at your disposal, weapons, attacks, spells, traps and potions versus 4 different types of defense, means that selecting the right ones in a matched battle makes it feel that you won the day. Not your gear or your level, your choices were the right ones. But choice is a dangerous thing. How do you stop the newbie from floundering in the stream of numbers torn straight from a tabletop game? The reviewer's introduction I was handed advised starting on easy, but Obsidian have actually implemented a far more elegant solution. Every tooltip which so much as mentions a stat or defense contains hot words. You mouse over said stat and its effects pop up for reference without interrupting what you're up to. No more wiki on the second monitor, no more guidebook necessary just to get going, although, incidentally, I've put that on order. It's a great demonstration of how new technology can streamline old systems, making them more accessible, that most reviled of words, without compromising complexity. Pillars is slick in this regard, less so in others, rocking problems I'd expect to have stayed in the 90s. AI pathing is more like AI crazy paving. In combat, you are required to give manual orders to all your followers, and I have no doubt that won't be for some, but that is a big part of the rich, tactical fight. But God forbid they have to walk around their teammates. Even when there is an open route available, they attempt to follow the shortest path by distance, juddering against the people in front like their suspension's gone. You can take command and gently guide them ping by ping, so you're at no real disadvantage because of it, but seeing your tank get jiggy behind an animal companion is an unwelcome fault in the fantasy. Depending on who you're role-playing, of course. I predict that one of Pillar's more contentious issues will be level scaling. There is none, so each new area might bring insurmountable challenge. Dungeons frequently bend you over and demand that you come back later, and for the most part you'll be happy to, because pursuing other ventures to gain skills and experience for returning to finally vanquish your foes gives the word quest some meaning. It doesn't mean, find little Jimmy, oh look, he's over there. I did that once in Pillars and it called it a task. A quest means taking the ring to Mordor. Now, side questing is epic questing. Taking the ring to Mordor without a map, because it's the missions off the beaten path that reveal the toughest foes from the darkest recesses of the world. There is no hand-holding, no objective markers. You got your quest text and your sword. Go prove yourself. Pillars side questing is the only side questing. However, it kills the combat of the main quest. If you have a tendency to pursue extra content, you will steamroll the story dungeons, which is a pity because it should feel the most epic, but there isn't the tactical demand to support frequently perfect narrative delivery. When it comes to level scaling, it didn't have to be a case of go hard or go home, and setting a minimum difficulty for story content to then grow with the player would, well, have made for a more heroic journey. As it is, you just ride the eagles. I started with combat because that's what you get up to in Pillars of Eternity. This is not an RPG where you can talk your way into being savior of the known universe. Things want to kill you, and things are fun to kill, so that works. In no way does it devalue the titanic volume of vibrant text and speech which tells you why you are killing. You are a watcher. You see the history of souls which travel endlessly round the wheel of reincarnation, and that is the foundation for the most impressive volume of flavor text I have ever encountered. There is so much additional material that you never have to read. Most is purely there for interest's sake. It's like bleeding your dungeon master dry of lore as he begs you to get on with the mission. Pillars lets you do both. It's in the timing that the writing excels. Side quest specific banter between party members is always a delight to discover, and the story knows exactly when to clue you in on the strands it's been teasing. The low point, perhaps in all of Pillars, is the sporadic sensation that the choices unlocked by stats and skills aren't really choices at all. Certain events are predestined, like one drawn-out discussion towards the end of Act 2 where for the length I really felt as if I were about to make a difference before the finale played out to the letter of a single script. Text in itself, however, has proved a powerfully evocative supplement to occasional voice acting and a static, painted art style. Leaving so much to the individual imagination makes each adventure that much more personal. My only complaint is the inconsistency with which text and speech are used, to the point where one line will be text and the next line in the same conversation will be voiced. You learn not to notice the switches, but not always getting to hear your companions is a particular shame. The loyalty quest for a posh mage with a split personality narrowly missed being one of gaming's funniest moments for being unaccountably silent. But you'll notice, in contrast to my other reviews, there's no single negative thread I can pull on to conclude that the game's no good. There's no running argument here. Does inconsistency of application make the text less excellent? No. Does spastic pathing overshadow the tactical brilliance of the combat? It does not. And did the frequent illusion of choice in the main tale make me any less willing to follow it? No. This is what happens when you are so enthralled to a game you have to sit down and think about the flaws to stop yourself gushing. Because I could gush. Believe me, I could gush. Pillars of Eternity is one of 2 games on this earth I have ordered the hardback guide for, because I want to see everything, and we're looking at 100 hours plus. People drunk on nostalgia who pledged on Kickstarter before the damn thing was made won't need convincing. But I think Obsidian wants to foster a new generation of computer role players. Now, we're entering tinfoil hat territory here, but apart from the stat elaborating tooltips we discussed earlier, have a listen to this. That sounds like the Shire to me, and it plays when you're at home in your keep. Now this. That is Soul's Oblivion soundtrack through and through, and it plays in a city which looks a lot like Anvil. And of course, all composers have their influences, and most likely this is simply a derivative, if well done, soundtrack. But in riffing on very familiar fantasy styles, maybe Obsidian set out to provide a touchstone for people who dig the fantasy, but don't know the cRPG. I felt right at home. Pillars of Eternity is flawed. It's full of lots of niggly little issues which get in the way of losing yourself completely. But if you want an adventure which makes you jump up and down and share stories afterwards, Pillars will give you one that is all your own. This is not another jog after quest markers. This is a quest. Whether you're in it for old time's sake or pure curiosity, Pillars will leave you begging for one more spin on the wheel.
Yes?
Be still, my beating heart. As ever, thank you very much for watching. I've been Angus Morrison, and you can find me on Twitter at @rerollgaming and Facebook at /reroll.angusgmorrison. Yeah, I regret that one.